Today we're going to be talking about why your gravel bike may or may not be right for the cyclocross course and some of my favorite tips for when you go to the bike shop and you're looking for a new ride. So as the days get a little shorter and the night temps get a little cooler, you start to get that feeling. Cyclocross is in the air. Your next thought is that you start daydreaming about mud and off cambers, but then reality hits and you ask yourself, how can I save a little bit of money? It might be tempting to think that your gravel bike can tear it up on the cross course. And the truth is, they might just be able to. With all of the different titles that these bikes have, aero gravel, regular gravel, cyclo-cross, what is it that makes these bikes different from one another? So the first thing that we're gonna do is test these bikes against each other on a small course that I made just down the street from my house. So first up is the Grevel, just as I ride it on the gravel roads with 42C tires.
3, 2, 1.
In the other corner is the Orbea Terra, which is Orbea's gravel bike, and it's mounted up with Continental's 35C Cyclo-Cross tires. 3, 2, 1. Okay, last up is the Canyon in-flight cyclocross bike. It is the challenger, but it's on its home court advantage. I've got 35C Continental cyclocross tires on this. Let's see how she does. 3, 2, 1. Huh! Okay, so before we get to the results of that very hotly contested race, and trust me, there were fans everywhere, we're gonna talk about the 3 things that I think are the big factors when you're picking a cyclocross versus a gravel bike. And those things are tires, drivetrain, and geometry. This bike, the Grevel, the Pinarello Grevel, has 40C tires. You might be thinking, hey, you know what? I got a Grevel. I can rock up to the cyclocross race, no problem. These tires are probably better than what the cyclocross bikes have. They're bigger. They should be better. Bigger is better, right? Maybe. Have to wait till the end to see the results. But I'll say this, while they are bigger and they do have a bigger contact patch, and typically they get better tread and they'll be a little bit softer ride, they are harder to get up to speed. So every time you go through one of these tight turns and you're dodging in and out, that can add 1 second, half second every single turn, and if there's 30 turns, you know the math. This bike, the Orbea Terra, had the 35 Contis, as did the Canyon. These tires get up to speed a little bit faster traditionally, and so that's why on cyclocross bikes, you usually have a little bit narrower tire. Now we're gonna talk about drivetrains. 1x or 2x? That's always the question. And the truth is that it comes down to personal preference. I've won and lost on both systems, and I've enjoyed them both the same. They have differences though. One of the big things about a 1x system is that I would say it's a little less versatile. So meaning if you're on the cross bike, it's good because it allows you to have a cleaner setup up front. It's got the clutch in the back, and you don't have to worry about any chain suck or anything like that. It's just one ring, it just goes. When you've got a 2x system, you've got a lot more versatility, especially if your bike is gonna double up as a gravel bike. This bike has a 46-33-10-33, meaning it has 1-to-1 gearing, 33-33. So if you're gonna use your bike on gravel, well, then a 33-33 is 1-to-1. That is pretty good gearing. You can go up a 10-minute climb with these big tires with a lot of ease. So can you race cyclocross in a double? Of course you can. And I did for a long time. I can only say there were a handful of races where I really enjoyed having a double, and otherwise I was always in the big ring crushing. So if you need more versatility, go with a 2x. If you're happy just being a full-time cross rider, cross bike, that's all it's doing, 1x is probably your jam. Okay, so I am not a bike geometry expert by any stretch of the imagination, but being a pro for a long time, you end up picking up a couple things and you know what this means and that means. So I'm gonna go through a couple of the measurements that I think are important on these bikes. Okay, so first up is the seat tube angle, and that is important because if you're too steep on a cyclocross bike, you're gonna definitely feel all of the bumps. And if you're too shallow, well, then you're not gonna be in enough control. These bikes all share the same seat tube angle at 72 degrees. Okay, so next up is head tube angle. You can imagine that like this is 90 degrees, 70, 72, this is 70.5, as is the Orbea Terra, and the Canyon though is 72. That's the big difference that I see. It's steeper, it's a little bit sharper, that's where you're gonna get that fast turn. So you come into something, it's a slower turn because you're on a cyclocross course, you have to scrub a lot of speed to make it through the turn. You get through the turn, but the Canyons, because it has that sharper angle, is able to turn a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficiently at that slow speed. Whereas these bikes that are more slacked out, they're longer, they have more, geometry that suits that long gravel riding style. That's where this bike's gonna differ entirely from the Canyon. Okay, so you think that you heard me on the geometry. I know it was very technical, but this is YouTube. You can go back and you can listen to it again. It's free, no problems. So the big takeaway though, these bikes, a little gentler, a little longer, they steer a little nicer, longer rides. Think the gravel bikes, longer rides. This, the Canyon, for speed, cyclocross, boom, 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 steeper, sharper angles, okay? Other key differences in these bikes, bottom bracket heights, very similar. Traditionally, cyclocross bikes have higher bottom brackets so that they don't hit their cranks in the mud or on the off-camber sections, and these gravel bikes typically a tiny bit lower to be able to kind of lengthen things out. Longer wheelbase makes it a little bit more pleasant riding. Okay, then you've got the tires. The tires on this bike, 45s is what the Greville will accept, probably even a little bit bigger. This, I'm not sure if the Canyon would accept bigger tires, so you'd have to factor that into your decision. And the Terra, I would say, is somewhere in the both of them. But Canyon, you can see, has really focused on the back of the bike in mud clearance. That has been their big thing with this bike. You can see it's just a massive space in there, where I don't know that the Greville has as much clearance, but it can fit those bigger tires. So that is the information that I have for you about these bikes and the differences. It's all about what you want and what the bike's gonna do, what you're gonna do with the bike the most. And if you're okay with giving up a little bit here and taking a little bit there, it's up to you. There are differences in these bikes, no question about it. They have different geometries, they have different purposes. But what were the results of the test around the track? You have to know. I also really wanted to know, that's why we timed it. So the Greville came in at 32 seconds around the track. Next was the Orbea Terra at 29 seconds. And then the winner, I know, it's a cyclocross course with a cyclocross bike, the Canyon, came in at 27 seconds. And those reasons for that are all in what I said earlier. The snappier geometry, the short chain stays, all that stuff, the smaller tires, all allow the bike to get up to speed faster. So it's not a surprise that a purebred cyclocross bike does better on a cyclocross course. But would you want to ride that bike for 5 or 6 hours? That's up to you. I've ridden tons of bikes and they all have different geometry and they can all be set up to be really comfortable. But you have to pick what is going to make a difference for you. What are you gonna do most with the bike? And that's what we went over here today. So if you liked this video and you want to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, please do. If you want to check out other great gravel videos, check them out over here. And if you want to click subscribe to GCN, check out right in the center.